I'm the guy that just gives people a good experience. Whether it's a 80-year-old grandma or whether it's a 30-year-old single guy. I got a rule where I'm either there for 30 seconds or I'm gone. I only work with people that kick the ball back. They call me the ShamWow guy because I was like, wait, there's more.
Welcome everybody out to the DDD podcast. We got a great episode ahead. The Golden Door Deep Dive segment of the podcast where I, your host Roz, pick the brains of all the Golden Door winners. See what it is that makes them tick. See exactly what it is that it takes for you to become a Golden Door winner yourself. So we got on the podcast today Danny Leighton, all the way from España. Danny, how the heck are you doing, dude?
Dude, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So you're from Spain.
That's right.
And you sound like you're from Texas, though.
Yeah, no, dude, I got blessed. I got a redneck dad and I got a Spanish mom. So, I got the best of both worlds.
Dude, you're Antonio Banderas, dude.
Right? I like Enrique Iglesias a little bit more. Oh. But yeah.
Ooh, you got the voice of Enrique?
Oh, in the shower I do. At least I think I do.
I love that, man. Well, Danny, we're really stoked to have you on the podcast. Congratulations on a huge summer. We were kind of going through the numbers a little bit right before we started. Can you refresh us on some of those numbers?
Yeah. So the season of 2023, 600 accounts sold and then 550 installed.
Excellent. So Danny comes from alarms, if you guys don't know. So security systems,
That's right. Smart
home, that kind of thing. So Danny, walk me through your story. How did you get involved in the industry?
So I came over from Spain when I was 16 years old on my own. I think everyone's heard of like the American dream and, land of opportunity. So while my family stayed back in Spain, I did my senior year of high school in Denver, Colorado. From there, I got a little scholarship to play soccer up at Whitworth, small school in Spokane, Washington. Life back then was not too fabulous. I was super involved with like substance abuse, selling substances, ingesting substances, just not in a good spot in life. COVID hit in 2020 and I was just living in my homie's basement doing literally nothing. I'd already dropped out of school because this was like halfway through the second semester. And one of my friends from Whitworth hit me up. And she just said, like, what are you doing this summer? And I was like, girl, I ain't doing shit. And she's like, you want a job that lets you travel? And I just said, like, sign me up. I didn't do an interview or nothing. I just flew down here to Utah. And 2 days later, I was on a freaking minivan out to Oklahoma. And that's how we got started with Alder. And we never looked back.
Love it. Love it. How'd you do those first couple of years?
First year, I ended with like 40 qualified accounts. So pretty dog shit. I was still carrying a lot of like the habits and the old way of life. Second year, like the off season between the first summer and the second summer, I really honed in on, changing myself and changing the way I think. So I did 204 my second year. Third year, which was last year, I did 387. And then this year, 600.
There we go.
So it's been a jump.
Obviously a steady progression, a big progression, especially from year 1 to year 2.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned you kind of went in the dungeon of your mind. You got yourself right. What did that look like for you?
I think in order for anybody really to rewire their brain, at least in my case, I had to hit a rock bottom. Like I had to hit a moment in my career and life where just things were not going the way I wanted them to go. And I just had to have like a reshape of my priorities. So my rock bottom for me was like within a span of like 3 days, lost a girlfriend, I lost my dream car, got totaled, and I had like 7 of my rookies that got fired because they were smoking in company housing. And this all happened back to back to back. And that really obviously put me down on the ground. And it was from there that I had to learn that if I want to build and if I want to grow, I can't base my happiness off of things like my car or even a girlfriend. And I had to start, like I said, reshaping my priorities. And honestly, that was definitely the hardest part of the whole career. Like not even like learning how to sell. The hardest part was reshaping your way or the way that you think, the way that you see things, perception's your reality. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it takes a lot of work to get that. And obviously, going through all the trials that you have, hitting those rock bottoms, really catapulted you into getting that and taking care of that. What would you say was the biggest difference in the day-to-day from year 1 to year 2 then for you?
I think, year 2 I was managing. So year 1 I was really just working for myself. Whereas year 2, the pressure that I had by having, 10 rookies that I had to lead, that I had to set the example for, that was a game changer. Because I think it's a lot easier to be complacent and to give up when you're just doing it for yourself. But when you're carrying the well-being of other people on your shoulders as well, because if I don't sell, they don't sell. And if they don't sell, they don't make money, right?
Yeah.
I want my guys to be as well off as I possibly can get them to. So I want them making as much as they can. So I'd definitely say the biggest difference year 1 to year 2 was the additional pressure that I had on my shoulders by just having to run a team.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because your motivation changes from like a selfish motive into more of like a selfless motive. It's like, I need to be the one that's leading from the front. My guys need to be making money. Why do you think that is? Why do you think a selfless motive is so much more powerful?
I think I was just talking to one of my guys about this yesterday. I think individually, like alone, we're so useless. Like we're so powerless. I think that there's such strength in numbers, and at least with teams, whether it's athletics or door to door, there's a certain camaraderie that people can rally around where I think people are capable of doing a lot more than they could on their own if they are, surrounded with people that have the same mindset and the same vision and the same drive that they do. So I just think that there's just more momentum, there's more energy, more competition, more accountability. Because I think obviously when it's just you don't really have anyone to keep you accountable. When you got guys, or even if you're not the manager, if you're just one of the rookies, you got the whole rest of the team holding you up to the standard. And I think that definitely puts a fire on your ass.
Absolutely. It's a power in the unit. It's surrounding yourself with people that, you're willing to die for, basically. Mm-hmm. People, there are studies that show in wartime and in the military, people are much more willing to like fight for the people behind them than fight whatever's in front of them. So it's fighting for your brothers. It's fighting for the people that you love, which is very important. So now we have this progression from year 1 to year 2. That's a drastic improvement and a phenomenal jump. But now we got this interesting jump from, you're doing 200 accounts to you're doing 600 accounts within just a couple of years. What was the biggest mindset shift for you for that to happen?
Belief. There's a saying that says like the will to do something stems from the belief that you can do something. And I really, really like that quote, because my biggest flip from year 2 to year 3 was like year 2, I realized that I can do whatever I set my mind on. And year 3, I was just gunning for number 1 rep. Like the last time there'd been a number 1 rep under the age of 25 at Alder was like freaking 10 years ago. So I was like, I want to be the new guy. Like, and if I can believe hard enough that I am the number 1 rep, then I will achieve it. So all throughout the off season of year 3, I was just calling myself the number 1 rep. Like during the preseason, all the podcasts, all everything, I was like, I'm number 1 rep. I'm number 1 rep. I'm number 1 rep. And even though I was nowhere near being number 1 rep at that point, that belief where I almost tricked myself into believing that I am capable of doing this, my body just kind of followed up through that, and it became easier to work harder. It became easier to, improve. It became easier to work longer. And little by little, by the end of year 3, I was number 1 rep. And after obviously reassuring to myself again that if I set my mind on something and I commit and I stay consistent that I can achieve it, then I just wanted to see what I really could be capable of if I just went balls to the wall for one summer. And I just wanted to be number one rep in the country. And actually, I meant to ask you, I don't know if I am or not. I got to be close.
Number one alarm rep in the country?
Yeah.
I'd have to check that out.
Yeah, me too.
I think
I'm curious.
Tristan Pearce from Vivint's pretty close. He's gotten a lot. Yeah, we'll have to double check that.
Yeah, but at least Within Alder like broke a bunch of records, and I just wanted obviously that golden door, that credibility, and I think it just becomes easier to work the more belief you have in yourself.
Absolutely. And it's very powerful because, like you said, once you establish that belief, then everything changed for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it was like, your actions preceded that. It created that identity very strongly, and everything you did after that, went to make that identity stronger.
100%.
So what did all of this look like from a technical sales standpoint for you? Were you the guy that's, memorizing his pitch and saying it in the shower? Are you the guy that's constantly role playing? What did that look like?
I'm the guy that just gives people a good experience.
Okay.
So obviously my rookie year, I was very set on memorizing the pitch, and I definitely did take that very seriously. First and second year of just like studying the skill set of sales and diving into all of that. But for me, what I've found that works the best is I just try to give people the best experience. So I don't really have the same pitch. I don't say the same pitch twice. Obviously that changes up quite a bit, but I've gotten really good at reading people and from my perception of them, basing off how I perceive myself. Right. So being able to kind of be a chameleon a little bit on the doors and give people an equal cool experience when they're with me, whether it's a 80-year-old grandma or whether it's a 30-year-old single guy, right? Everyone's going to, as soon as I leave the house, people are going to leave with a good impression, and they're going to remember me as the alarm guy, and they're going to refer me to all their friends because they had a great time with me.
Yeah. And so. I think that's, probably the biggest piece of all of it is, you can memorize all the scripts that you want, and you should, but if you're not, in the people game, if you're not, able to discern, if you're not able to like talk to them on their level, then it's going to be almost impossible to sell them.
100%.
So what did it take for you to learn that level of people skills?
Definitely took a lot because I was definitely the robot sales guy. They called me the ShamWow guy because I was like, wait, there's more.
I forget his name, but
it's like ShamWow, I think.
Billy Mays, that's his name, yeah.
And it took a while because I was trying so hard to be a salesman. And I was lying to myself, and obviously people could just see straight through that. And I was getting so frustrated on why I wasn't having these laydowns, these genuine interactions. And it's because myself, I wasn't being genuine. I think it took a lot of like being okay with myself. And that obviously brought a lot of confidence for me to be able to be myself on the doors, which is how people get like that genuine feeling from me, which is what gets them to trust me. And that's how we end up becoming friends and, get the sale done.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's something like I personally struggled with when I was on the doors is, I'm a very bubbly, very energetic guy. So, coming on the doorstep, especially being nervous as a first year, bouncing around and looking nervous and talking way too much and things like that. So what would you say, how does one really take off the salesman hat and put on the people hat?
Yeah. I think it's a really solid question. It's definitely not something that happens overnight. It's I think it's a level of confidence that you build up over time and under pressure. Because I think that's really all it is the confidence. Because if you can have enough confidence in something, then you don't, like the customer won't even know that you're a salesman, right? Because you're confident about what you're talking about, and you're confident that your time with them is going to be worth their time, right? So I think when people feel that energy coming from the salesman, the first thing they expect when someone knocks on their door is for somebody to pitch them, right? So I think doing the exact opposite of that And as soon as you knock on their door, you focus a lot more on just building a friendship, building a relationship, establishing common ground. We call it BRT, build relationships and trust. So I think if you can prioritize that, I think the sale kind of just happens on its own. And you don't have to feel that pressure of like, having to move through your process and having to like, or just caring too much about what the customer thinks.
Absolutely. And where do you draw the line between like I'm building rapport and I'm wasting time?
I got a rule where I'm either there for 30 seconds or I'm gone. So within 30 seconds, if I can ask them 2 to 3 questions, depending on the answers they give me, if they're saying yes, then I'll stay and I'll keep going. But if I'm asking them certain questions about like the neighborhood or about themselves, how long they've been there, and I'm not really getting the answer that I want in terms of like body language, I'm gone. I'm huge on conservating my time and energy. So I only work with people that kick the ball back.
Interesting. So you are if they're picking up what I'm putting down, I'm proceeding.
Oh yeah,
But if how many chances are you giving them for that?
not many, bro. I'll be honest.
Okay.
Because like, at least in the area that we worked at in South Carolina, I mean, there's so much crime. I'd like to argue it's a really, really soft market to sell alarms in. So if someone doesn't want it, I know there's at least 4 people on the street that want it, right?
Okay.
So, and I know a lot of times the main reason that they don't vibe with me is either A, I come off too strong, or B, I don't have enough credibility. So being able to have name drops, being able to have current older customers in the neighborhood usually helps out a ton with that.
Okay. For sure. So how many doors does that typically look like for you a day?
If I'm working a full day, I don't go by doors. I go by like hours. So
Okay.
I try to get 1 to 2 per hour. Because there'll be a time where like I'll not.
And deals, that is, right?
Yeah. So like one deal is an average of like 20, 30 minutes. So I'll try to fit in like 1 to 2 deals an hour. And if I can work a full day, I mean, obviously the best days you have a lot of referrals. So you're moving a lot quicker. Deals are a lot shorter. But I mean, I'll tell you this, like my first couple of summers, I was knocking 150 doors a day. And then closing 1, maybe 2.
Sure.
And then by now, I mean, I think it's the last we checked, it's like every 5 doors I knock, I'll close 2 on average. So
you got really, really good ratios then.
But again, it's because like, well, I guess I shouldn't say every 5 doors knocked. Every 5 people that I interact with, that I actually get to talk to, I'll close 2 of them.
Okay. That's incredible. And then do you track your numbers?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So you're big into
Goodness.
that?
Huge. Yeah. Alder, I'm assuming everyone else has it too, but we have like a stats kind of page thing, and that has been it's been huge for me.
Yeah.
Being able to treat this like a sport, because obviously I come from an athletic background.
Sure.
So that was just probably the easiest transition for me, is being able to just gamify this, make this into a game, and being able to track numbers obviously allows you to track yourself, because you're able to then connect what your day looked like before the doors to how many you got. And you start looking at what you did right before and what you didn't do right, and you start tweaking things, and slowly but surely things get a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you gamify it, it takes the emotion out of it. Then that no just becomes one closer to the yes.
Exactly.
I've said this on the podcast, a few times already, but it's like, yeah, if you took a robot and it went door to door to door and it had an iPad with the video showing the product, it'd probably sell more than most people.
Yep.
Like it 100% would sell 1 to 2 alarm accounts.
For sure.
A day. No question.
For sure.
Just because it's taking the error of human emotion out of it. So what are some other ways you take emotion out of the equation for you?
I think there's a certain headspace that you need to go in for the summer, just in general. And I mean, this is a little controversial, but I just get so cold-hearted during the summer. And my guys are pretty aware of it now, so they know not to like really tick me off. But during the summer, it's just like there is no emotion. Like I don't really have any emotion to go around, because I'm saving all of it for my interaction with my customers. Because sales is just a transfer of emotion.
Absolutely.
So if I'm wasting all my emotion on either people that aren't buying or even sales reps, right, I'm not going to have enough to where if I find someone that needs that from me, I won't have enough in the tank to give it. So I'm just super strict about how I go about distributing my time and my energy. And again, that's why I have that 30-second rule. Like if someone's not worth my energy, I'm gonzo barbonzo.
Yeah.
We'll see you later, alligator. But it is hard. It's hard to block out the emotion. I think especially at a younger age, when like emotions are already so high, when you're having to deal with stuff outside of work that's emotionally impacting, like learning to block that off and focusing on the doors is so hard. It's one of the hardest parts of the job. And I think that just, you learn that over time and under pressure.
For sure. So now kind of speak to me about the kind of another technical aspect of selling, because obviously it takes a lot of skills to be closing that many deals a day. What's your secret to building value?
Honestly, a lot of the value comes from me and how I feel about the product. I learned this from our CEO, Shans, is people don't really buy because of what you're selling. People buy because of how you make them feel. And I really honed in on that. And this kind of plays on to what I was talking about with just giving people the experience. So I think and at least with alarms, it's a lot more of an emotional sale.
100%.
Right. So being able to share a couple of stories and being able to like have your own personal testimony on the product is huge. Huge. So I think if I'm in a sale and I'm aware that I need to build value, I'll do that by sharing a couple real stories of customers of mine or of people in their area, and that really helps out. But again, people will only buy because of how you make them feel. So the main thing I learned from Shans is passion. Passion sells, and passion can do a lot to change somebody's mind, right? And like no matter the argument, like the person who is more passionate will have a higher chance of persuasion.
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah, it's like what Danny Pesci says, the depth of your conviction will overcome the peak of their logic every time.
100%.
Sam Taggart here with Door to Door Con 7 coming up right around the corner. Get your tickets at dddcon.com. January 25th through the 27th in Salt Lake City, Utah. You aren't going to want to miss this. Don't procrastinate. Go take action. Bring you and your team, because we level up your sales, level up your recruiting, and level up your business. Come as a team, learn as a team, and leave as a tribe.
How do you
100%.
so how did you obtain your alarm testimony then? How did you develop your product conviction?
Look, man, I faked it till I made it. Like my first couple of years, I didn't even really think an alarm was necessary for a house. And it wasn't until I ran into, I had this one lady in Louisiana that just had a horrible experience to where an alarm would have just saved her life, basically. And from that day on, I was like, okay, like everybody deserves the right to feel safe in their house. And even just that small little flip in the mindset just completely changed the way I saw the game, because I was no longer selling something. I was now approaching people and like giving them a great deal on something that they already needed, especially in the neighborhoods that we work in. So I think it's a really easy trap to fall into, especially in door-to-door sales when you first start, to just sell the product and become obsessed with selling the product, as opposed to becoming obsessed with what the product can do for the customer, which in our case for alarms is just peace of mind. So I think I flipped that mindset from like showing all the bells and whistles, all the features of the alarm, to changing it more of like what this is going to do for you, and what you doing this through me does for me. Right? It was a very equal, like, yes, I'll do all this for you, but you have to do a lot for me. I'm expecting a lot from you, Mr. Customer. I need that sign out there. I need 2 referrals, this, and this.
Yeah,
And that way people don't feel like it's like a sales interaction.
for sure. And guys, it's important, even if you guys aren't in alarms, so many of these principles that Danny's talking about are essential for solar, for pest. People buy off of emotion. People buy the story. People buy you. People buy the person. And the the level of product conviction that you need and the emotion that you can convey through that is important. Whether it's, like I said, whether it's solar, whether it's pest, whether it's fiber, create that story, create that emotion, create that product conviction, and it'll absolutely create a lot more results for you guys. So thank you for sharing that. Now kind of onto the closing piece of it. Was closing the deal something that was difficult to learn for you?
For sure. I think that's where I fumbled the bag the most. And I think that's because throughout the sale, I hadn't properly built the value, trust, urgency. Again, I was just so focused on selling it that people were aware that they were buying something. And I think we all know, like, people have this huge turnoff to buying something if someone's offering it.
Yes.
As opposed to, right, if they go into the store, then it doesn't matter how much it costs. And I got really, really caught up with just telling myself that, like, I was bothering people, that I was just wasting my time. And again, that lack of belief in myself. Because once that flipped, once I did start believing that, A, I'm good at this, and B, everybody needs this, and everybody wants this, and everybody can afford it, that mindset right there made closing the easiest part of the deal, right? Because I'd set that standard from the very beginning of the sales process that A, this is not a sale, B, I'm your friend, and C, you need this, and I'm going to get you a great deal. I'm going to make sure that you don't have to lift a finger, that you don't have to, do anything to get this. In fact, quite the opposite. I need you to do something for me. So having that mindset flip of the belief, both for myself and for the customer, was huge. Because I think if you're going about a sale, selling them, right, and everybody knows, like, you're kind of snaking through objections and you're trying to avoid certain objections. When you get to price, you get to payment method, whatever it is, there's a lot of hesitation from your part. And again, the customer can feel that because you know that you've been trying to sell them and it's not actually something the customer wants or needs.
Absolutely. And, it always kind of stems back from, I was told if whatever part of the sale you're struggling with, it's probably the previous step. You're struggling with closing because your presentation is probably not good.
Exactly.
If you're struggling with getting in the house, you got to work on your pitch.
Yep.
If you're not getting people answering the door, it's your prospecting. So it's little things like that if you can tweak, if you can learn, and then especially that mindset shift. Oh, above all, like you said, what was the number one objection that you had this last summer?
Well, buyer's pride, I think, is definitely the biggest problem. I think if someone tells me at the door that they don't need it, honestly, dude, I bounce. Whereas in previous years, I would have taken a step back, hit them with a couple swings, and then tried again. I think the biggest objection, and this is not just alarms, I think this is just anyone, is I don't need it. Whatever the product is, if it's pest control, nah, I don't need it. If it's solar, no, I don't need it. It used to be I can't afford it, but I got really good at getting that one out the way real quick. Because part of my pitch is like, hey, I'm working with everybody that can't afford this. Right? So killing the baby monster, bringing it up before they do is huge. But whether the customer or for the customer to think that they need it, it's not something that you can tell them. Right? You can ask them certain questions and you can give them a story and kind of lead them down a little path for them to realize it. But the sale won't happen unless it's the customer that realizes that, hey, this is probably a good idea. I need this. I need to talk to this good-looking white dude in a cowboy hat.
You knock with the cowboy hat?
Oh, yeah, dude. Cowboy hat and Segway and the little fanny pack. And, again, it's all about, like, this persona, this experience that you give people.
Yeah.
So.
And, I mean, you're definitely probably the only guy in a cowboy hat that's knocking on their door.
That's for sure.
And you use that as an icebreaker frequently?
Oh, 100%. Every time. Every time. And I mean, we work mainly in like southern areas where people don't see too many like white boys in cowboy hats, right? Everyone's used to just the people in their small little town. So yeah, I try to go all out on the experience.
I love that. So now let's kind of shift over into just the psychology of the Golden Door winner. What is the X factor? What is it that makes them different than the average rep?
The separation they have with everybody else. I think and for me personally, this is addicting. I think once I got a little taste of like being ahead of everybody else, I just had to get more. So I think anyone that's earned a golden door, no matter the industry, have done things and have been willing to go through certain things that no one else in that industry is willing or capable of doing. In case of alarms, it's strictly just a numbers game. So I know that anyone that has a golden door through alarm systems just knocked more doors, had a better attitude, had a better mindset, and they just did not stop, did not give up, and they probably had a huge goal in mind. Because you don't just hit 400 without at least wanting the goal of 400. And as if you haven't hit it before, I mean, that is so scary because of the consistency that it's asking of you, right? It's a lot easier to just do like a huge day of like 6 or 7 than to do 4 or 5 consistently for 4 months in a row. Way harder. So mad respect to anyone that's got a golden door because they've got the grit to be consistent.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, that's one of the coolest parts about, doing the podcast and interviewing you guys is seeing, it's really, there's not a whole lot of differences between people. It's just goals. It's grit. It's determination. It's work ethic. Just like little things to tweak.
Totally.
And, there's no reason that a guy that's selling, 100 alarms in a summer can't sell 400.
Oh,
there's no reason.
No reason.
There's no reason a guy selling 30 alarms can't sell 400.
Nope.
It's just a mindset shift. It's training. It's everything that we've just been talking about. So now we're going to kind of shift over into D2D-Con coming up. So this is your first D2D-Con.
Yeah, dude, I'm hyped.
You've never been before. Have
Never
you heard
been.
about it? Or
Yeah. I mean, our CEO got indicted into the Hall of Fame last year.
Oh, awesome.
So he was there. Adam Shands was there. James Edwards. James Edwards is really good buddies with Sam. Yeah. But no, I've never been. I've just seen it on Instagram.
Oh, man. Why haven't you
I'm
come
so-
out?
Dude, well, this is the first year that Alder submitted their numbers to Door to Door Con.
Oh, great.
I'm the first Golden Door from Alder ever.
How many do you think you guys will have?
This year?
Yeah.
This year's just me.
Just you?
For
okay.
sure.
Represent.
Represent, all right? We're trying.
Represent. You'll bring your guys out, and yeah, let's make this like a regular thing.
When is it? When is
January
Door to Door Con?
25th through the 27th.
So, it's like a 2-day thing.
It's a 2-day thing, 2-day event here in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
So downtown. Yeah, it's gonna be absolutely epic. Got Sean White coming, Lance Armstrong. So we got some big speakers. Chris Voss.
Whoa.
And then Sam, obviously. Got dozens of workshops from top performers. Probably do some type of Golden Door panel. It's going to be nuts. And then, of course, we'll have the segment of, Golden Door winners. We'll represent you with your Golden Door award in front of everyone that's attending. 4,000 people in attendance. So,
Damn.
And then hundreds of vendors. It's a huge event. And, we've been talking about it on the podcast. It's awesome because it's like, there's no recruiting. We're taking off our company hat. It's like, I'm not Danny with Alder.
I'm just Danny.
I'm not Roz with Vivint. I'm not Sam with Solcius. We're all just in this great experience together where, we knock doors and we make money. And we're just learning about what it takes to be great. Which, the goal is to unify, up level, and bring honor and integrity to the door-to-door industry.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great to have you there. Kind of speaking about D2D-Con a little bit, D2D-Con's an investment. It's a few $100 to get there. It's hotel, it's flight, it's an inconvenience, of course. But, anything that's going to get results is going to be some sort of sacrifice. But for you, what sort of investments have you made in yourself? Have you invested in coaching? Have you ever done any sort of training program, or what does that ever look like for you?
Dude, I'm just blessed. I'm blessed because Alder is still a small enough company to where it's very, leadership's very accessible. So I've been very intentional about the relationships that I've built at corporate. And I've had a lot of one-on-one time with Shands, who's obviously holds a ton of records, and with this guy named Jake Dahl, who's got 7,000 personal accounts under his belt. So I've never been to a conference. I've never obviously I've read a ton of books and podcasts, but I'd say 90% of my growth came from honestly, I didn't invest in myself. It's the executives at corporate that invested in me. And that really took the time to take a 18-year-old kid with a horrible drug addiction and just a horrible work ethic to, someone worth leading the next generation of the company as they move on to their next thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think, that's a great segue into DDD Con. It's like we have plenty of leaders. Invest in your guys. Guys, take your team to DDD Con. That's going to be the greatest investment you're ever going to make in them. And the guys and the leaders that put time into their guys, obviously, Danny's a prime example of, doing a complete 180 in your life.
Truly.
And it's incredible. You probably owe everything good in your life to Door to Door.
Literally everything.
Yeah.
And it's not just my life, it's the lives that I've been able to affect. Like my whole family, the entire well-being of my family has just risen as I've gone, summer after summer and door to door. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
Everyone should do it.
Everyone should
at least try
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Danny, this has been great. It's been great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's amazing picking your brain and seeing, what it is that makes you tick. So,
Dude, for sure.
Before we let you go, is there any parting words you want to give to the industry?
The industry. Just keep an eye out. Remember the name. That's it.
Amazing. Well, we'll see you at DDD Con. Just January 25th through the 27th.
January 25th.
Salt Lake City. Everyone, we're super excited. It's been a great podcast. Everyone, keep in tune for the next DDD podcast Golden Door Deep Dive segment. We out.
Peace in the Middle East.